Major news network right now is telling you that the biggest threat to your financial future is a recession, tariffs, inflation, maybe a stock market correction. I want you to stop and think about something. What if the real threat is not that your money loses value, but that your money stops being yours? Not in some abstract philosophical sense, I mean structurally.
First and foremost, I'd like to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahushua, Ba'Shem, Rakakadash, the Monasei apostles, elders, bishops of Great Millstone who rule well and also taught me this truth. And shalom to you brothers out there laboring, in sincerity and risking your life and your freedom to do so. Shalom to the few sisters out there, and shalom to the elect. Shalom, shalom. This is fair use, fair use. This video is not for any monetary gain. It is for education purposes only. To educate, to educate from the scriptures, of the things to come. So Salaki, give me a second. Yeah, the water. Yeah, and like he just said, your money, you're not gonna own it. And it goes with that famous quote, which they'll say they never said it, and that's the whole point of everything going digital, because anything that can be uploaded, digitally can be altered, you know, and we're used to it, but that's why we keep hard evidence, you know. It's best that when you come across things to print it out, and put it somewhere, for safekeeping, because uh Esau liked to change things, even change the times, change the laws. That's his thing, you know. And the scriptures say, meddle not with them that are given into change, you know. So like Klaus Schwab said, by 2030, you will own nothing and be happy. And that's a part of what is it? Annuit, collected, um, Novos Ordo Seclorum, you know. We have established our enterprise. That's what it's all boiling down to. The end all be all, which is the charagma. Total control over the average citizen. So I'm just gonna let this play. And through the spirit.
Mechanically, what if, while you have been watching the markets go up and down, the architecture of your entire financial life has been quietly redesigned, and the new architecture has a feature the old one never had: a third lock on every transaction you will ever make. I am going to show you exactly what I mean, because what is happening right now in Washington, in Basel, and inside the depository trust.
And it says AI, and it doesn't matter that this guy's AI, we don't give a fuck. We just care about the information, what he's bringing out is true information, because your money is going to be regulated. You're going to go from fully autonomous, not autonomous, but what's the word? It's another word used for privacy. Um, Anonymous, right? You're going to go from anonymous payments to everything being regulated, you know? The third party telling you what you can use this programmable money for, you know? That's what's coming down the pipeline. And it's going to be controlled through your digital wallet, you know, through whatever company or whatever politician they have in their pocket, you know, to on how you can spend this money, you know. Right now you might be paying, let's say $20 a month for a Netflix subscription, you know. Once this thing fully rolls out, you might be paying per minute of the series or show that you may be watching, you know.
And Clearing Corporation is not a financial reform That is the language they are using. What it actually is, if you follow the structural logic, is a transfer of fiscal sovereignty from elected representatives to unelected financial infrastructure. And I am going to prove it. Here's my thesis, and I'm going to lay it out plainly, because on this channel, we do not do panic, and we do not do
$5 a day invested for 1 year, and you could have $1,900. $5 a day.
cheerleading. We've
Stupid ad. But let's go into about 4 minutes in, I believe. I was listening to this early at the plantation.
You and the seller. You have a lock. The seller has a lock. If either of you says no, the transaction does not happen. Financial institutions can intervene under anti-money laundering rules or know your customer requirements. But structurally, the system is bilateral. 2 locks. Programmable money introduces a third lock. Between you and the seller, there is now an algorithm, a set of encoded rules that can...
And that's what the CBDC is for. You know, the blockchain technology. It is for programmable money. Money that you can program. You know, you can set the money up to be used within a 90-day period. Now you have a countdown on that money. You know, you may be only able to use that money for green gas, you know, stuff that's fuel efficient and whatnot. You know, like Aaron Russo said, with that interview with was it Nick Rockefeller? I'm a little rusty. But he said total control, you know.
approve, deny, modify, delay, or conditionally permit every single transaction. That is not a conspiracy theory. That is
He said modify. See, they can modify real time your transactions. You don't have no control over anything.
the literal technical definition of programmable money. The Bank for International Settlements itself describes the architecture this way. In their own words, tokenization integrates messaging, reconciliation, and settlement into a single seamless operation. What they do not say, but what the architecture necessarily implies, is that the entity controlling the program controls the transaction. That is not a financial system. That is a control system. Now, let me take you deeper,
Total control.
because this is where it gets genuinely alarming. On July 15th, 2026, less than 3 weeks ago, the DTCC processed live trades involving tokenized stocks, ETFs, and US Treasuries. This was not a simulation. This was not a white paper. This was production trading on a distributed ledger involving the backbone institution of American capital markets. The pilot demonstrated how tokenized securities can support collateral, repo, and equity transactions while preserving the same legal ownership rights as traditional assets. Their full-service launch is set for October 2026. I want you to memorize 2 numbers. $114 trillion. That is how much the DTCC currently custodies. And 50.
Okay. I don't know. I'm gonna go to about 11 minutes in.
Is whether the US data center build-out is designed for capacity for faster stock settlement. You build that much compute capacity when you intend to process, monitor, and enforce rules on every transaction in a programmable financial system. And the question I keep asking,
And that's why they got those flock cameras set up. I was downtown the other day, I believe a few days ago. Went to this little day party or whatnot. And now when you go into those parking garages, remember at a point, it used to be free to park on Sundays. You know, I'm not sure that the city of Chicago is pretty much doing that anymore, but now they allow you to go directly into the parking lots. You don't have to remember them days where you go in and they got the little, what do you call it, like a barricade, and then you push the button, you get a permit, or what is it, the little card come out, you know, your ticket come out, and you validate your ticket for your parking, pay for your parking, and get out. They don't have that no more. You can just go right in, you know, due to the new technology, the flock cameras, or you know, whatever. They taking pictures of your license plate and let you freely come out, right? But what you don't understand is that you have $100 ticket in the mail waiting on you. You know, you like, oh yeah, no, no, no. They got vehicles with 360 cameras on them that take pictures as it drive by of every plate and every car. Then you have the flock camera, which is snatching as you driving through tolls or major city streets or whatnot, whatever. They have them all over the place now, and it's collecting your license plate, the data off of your phone. What are you doing in the vehicle? Who's in the vehicle with you? All that. You're being heavily surveillanced. That's the point I'm getting to, right? There's no such thing as privacy. It's over with, you know? And,
Asking, and I have no way of knowing the answer, is whether the US data center build out is designed for domestic programmable finance or for global programmable finance. Because if you're pushing stable
and this is a thing for the whole world. Those data centers that are being built is this is being pushed on the whole world. You know? Matter of fact, let me get a few scriptures real quick. Bear with me. Okay, Khan. This is Revelation 3 and 10. It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience. What's the word of the Lord's patient? The scriptures, the whole book, the Apocrypha and the king and the king and the New Testament and Old Testament, which makes up a total of 80 books. Remember, the Lord said, I'll come in the volume of the book, it is written of me. All right. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, another word of patience means to suffer. I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world. Right. So let's go into that word, world. Hour of temptation come upon all them that dwell in the world. And that's why we don't deal with you fucking Christians, or it all niggas. Because you don't go into the meaning of shit. You're just talking out your ass. Okay? Wakeman, right? Okay. Strong's definition. Land, the terrain part of the globe. Earth, the world, you know? So this is meaning the entire globe, you know? It's just a global thing, right? That's what it means. Okay? All right. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Right. So when they roll this, because all of this ultimately ends, uh, um, all what they say, all roads lead to Rome. All of this leads up to the charagma. That's what all this is about. You know, the total control of you buying and selling. Okay. All right. Revelation 13 and 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Right. Why? And that no man might buy or sell. Right. Save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. And that's what it's coming down to. You know, you won't be able to buy or sell unless you take that charagma. But once you take that charagma, you're gonna have programmable money. You know, Elon Musk said, um, what is it called? Bear with me. you're gonna have um basic Elon Musk basic universal income. There we go. All right. See, it's all right here. You know, we giving it to you, right? But remember, there's a famine coming, not only of food, but of this word. You know, there's gonna come a point in time where you're not gonna be able to receive this information. That's why the Lord have us pushing this information so hard right now. For those who are able to get it, and to prepare themselves spiritually, you know, build upon their rock, which is Yahweh Shah. You know, remember he said, um, 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 we just read it, Revelation 3 and 10. You know, this will come to try them that dwell upon the whole earth. You know, remember this word. You know, remember this, because this is what's going to sustain you. What the scripture say? I've never seen the righteous forsaken. Yehovah Hashem Yahweh Shah is not going to forsake his elect. You know. Okay, it say Elon Musk envisions a future where artificial intelligence and robotics create total economic abundance. And right now they just laid off I believe all the workers at the Tyson factory in Illinois. And then they just laid off a third of the Pepsi employees as well. You know, so major layoffs has been happening over the last couple of years. Ultimately because they're going into the autonomous world, you know, where everything is done by robots. You know, you're gonna have robot soldiers. They what they call that the fifth um the fifth generational warfare, which is solely autonomous. China right now are building sixth generational uh fighter jets, which are autonomous, right? You don't need a actual human person in the fighter jet. Uber, you know, DoorDash, even Amazon, you know, and Tesla. They have vehicles out here that are being driven, or robots out here as well, you know, that are not actual humans, you know. The whole future is merging man with the technology. Everything, the Internet of Things, the IoT, you know, the Internet of all things, um, and so forth, right? It says Elon Musk envisions a future where artificial intelligence and robotics create total economic abundance, rendering traditional jobs. That he envisions this, right? No, this is their plan. This is the plan of the global elite. Okay. And at the same time, they're trying to get population down to 500 million. You know, that's what the Georgia Guidestones was about. Because uh they look at the average person as a useless eater. You know, go look these things up. Be like the Church of Berea. Go search and see if these things are true. You know, traditional jobs optional and necessitating a government funded system he calls universal high income rather than basic survival funds. Okay? And that's what you're gonna get with the CBDC, the blockchain technology, and the programmable money. You know? But guess what? They're gonna create their own legislation on how you can spend the money. You know, via whoever sends you the money. You know, you bought 2 pounds of protein this month. It might only restrict you to 3 pounds of protein a month, you know? So you're being totally controlled on everything, all fronts, right? You're going to make you a perpetual slave to this man's system. All right, let's finish this off.
coins and digital tokens out to the entire world through the dollar system, the compute requirements are orders of magnitude larger. Now, here is where the structural picture gets even more important, and I want you to pay close attention because this is the part that connects your personal financial security to the geopolitical architecture. There are 3 pillars required to execute a programmable control grid. The first is programmable money, and that is what the Genius Act, the Clarity Act, and the DTCC tokenization service provide. The second is digital identity, a persistent digital identifier linked to your transactions, your assets, and your compliance status. The third is the
Your compliance status. So let's say you disagree with the and that's how you know freedom Babylon is done, which is also known as America, Babylon the Great. It's over with because you don't even have any freedoms anymore. So-called freedoms, right? Because if you don't like whoever is elected for whatever reason, you're out of compliance. So your universal high income or whatever it is you're receiving, you might only receive a third of that because you're in violation. You know, they think you're radical, right? Because you have a different opinion. You know, they might, they already do the trans thing, right? The transhumanism, right? Your son might go to school with a boy dog, a boy that's a dog. He's half boy, half dog. And this is me hypothetically, right? And you disagree with that, you're not in compliance, right? This is how bugged out this thing is, but it's true, you know?
physical surveillance and hardware layer, the data centers, the cameras, the connected infrastructure. All 3 are being built simultaneously. And the countries
The data centers, the flock cameras, the digital wallet. They're not playing, right? And it lines up with the scriptures, right? It say he shall come with great wrath because he has but a short time. They know that their time is up. You know that they're running low on time, and they trying to hurry up and get this thing done, man. You know. But what the scriptures say at the fulfillment, uh, uh, he shall be in straits. You know. Bear with me. Okay, Job 20:22. In the fulfillment of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. So the Lord is gonna allow him, you know, to do his thing. But once he's at his fulfillment, Salakia, can't even get it out. Fulfillment, that's when the Lord is gonna bring him down. There's another one in Job that say he's gonna get him while he's still eating or filling his belly, you know. Bear with me. Yep, it's right. It's the next verse. Okay. All right. So let's read Job 20 and 22 again. In the fulfillment of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall be upon him. When he is about to fill his belly, the Most High, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, shall cast fury upon him and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. Right? So when this man gets to the fulfillment of his enterprise, which is his new world order, the Lord is going to really bring this man down, you know, with pursuing to the chariots, the ICBM missiles, the hypersonics. They're going to make this land desolate. Pursuant to Isaiah the 63rd chapter, Isaiah the 34th chapter, Joel 2, you know, and many other scriptures, you know.
Went furthest down this road first are now pulling back. Sweden abandoned its plans for an all-digital e-krona in 2023. Sweden's defense ministry now distributes brochures advising households to keep at least a week's supply of banknotes on hand, citing the vulnerability of electronic banking to cyber warfare. Sweden's central bank governor stated publicly that people should always be able to pay for food, healthcare, and medicine with cash. Switzerland is moving toward enshrining cash in its constitution. That is not a group.
It's not gonna work, you know, because the Most High had already spoke to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua has already spoken it, and it's gonna happen. So it's no way around it. So with that, I pray you edified. Shalom to the elect. Kwam Yashala. Shalom.